Chapter 19. Mungo stood in front of the roaring fire, his hands on his hips, legs apart, looking fierce. He reminded Col of a photo of the Colossus of Rhodes he had once seen in a school textbook. Col stood at the living room door, staring right back at his brother. It was clear that somehow he had found out where Col had been. It was Mungo who broke the silence. "Did you tell him anything?" "You mean like, my brother had a great time at your place the other night. He really hopes you liked the redecorations." Mungo took a threatening step towards him and Col stepped back. For the first time, apart from in his dream, he was afraid of his brother. Afraid he'd... What? Did he really believe that Mungo was going to hurt him? "You should have went with them." "Do you know what they asked me for? To show people they trust me. They know you did it. Everyone knows you did it. But they wanted to show that they still trust me." "They're nice people, Mungo. And you should never have done what you did." Mungo's answer was a sneer. "They're nice people. With money." "They worked hard for it," Col snapped back. "Ah, well, they can work harder then." Col realised he would never make Mungo understand. "What would you know about work? You've never worked in your life." Mungo's eyes flashed with rage. "Don't you dare talk to me like that. You better show some respect." "Respect? For you?" Col was every bit as angry. "What respect did you show me? Look at the position you've put me in." "What position?" Mungo threw the words at him. "You're my brother. You don't tell on a brother. End of story. You stick to that and you've no got a problem." In that second, Col hated his brother and all he stood for. Mostly because he was right. He could never betray him. "Don't worry yourself. I'm never going to see them again anyway." And he knew this time it was true. He'd known it since Mr. Sampson and Mrs. Sampson had hugged him so tightly outside the restaurant. "That's what I wanted to hear." Mungo said it as if he'd won, as if Col had done exactly what he'd wanted. "I hate you, Mungo," Col yelled at him. But Mungo only laughed and called after him as he pounded upstairs to his room. "You'll feel better in the morning, bruv." He thought he would never sleep. His mind was too full of the Sampsons and Mungo. He'd never felt such misery in all his life. Even when he did drop into a troubled doze, another crack of thunder would awaken him with a start. The room would light up and the rain seemed to be battering its way through the windows. He did finally sleep, but it brought him no rest. Dreams. Dreams of rain and thunder and ice. Once again he was trapped in the dark, icy loch, going under, the waters closing round him like a shroud. He tried to call out, but no sound came, and water filled his mouth and made him choke. He could see the ice above him closing over his head. He tried to reach up, break through, but it was too far. Dominic's face appeared, dim and hazy, calling to him, and Mrs. Sampson, reaching down, wanting to help, to drag him to safety, but the ice was between them. And then, from nowhere, Mungo appeared, towering over them, a nightmare grin on his face. Col tried to shout to them, to warn them, but no sound came. Deeper and deeper he swirled into the silent depths of the loch. Reeds tangled around his ankles like snakes, dragging him down. The faces above him were growing even more distant, and long, icy ferns touched his face. He wanted so much to live. He thrashed and turned and saw dark, eerie shapes coming towards him through the dark water. He tried to turn away, didn't want to see what he dreaded. He wanted to wake up. Then, in the silent depths, he felt something behind him, something he'd shut out so many times before. Closer it came, touching his shoulder, egging him on to turn round. He didn't want to look. He wanted to surge to the surface, but he was held in a nightmare trance. He turned. He couldn't stop himself. And there, rising in the water before him, a face, a body. A body! Cole screamed himself awake as yet another crack of thunder rent the air. A body! It wasn't a nightmare. It was a memory. A memory he had been pushing away from him all this time. Waking up always before he had the chance to confront it. It hadn't been the face of death he had seen so long ago in the water. It had been a human face. There had been a body in the loch. He had glimpsed it that day, so close he could reach out, almost touch it. The terror of that vision was what had sent him hurtling to the surface. He jumped out of his bed. His pyjamas clung to his body with sweat. He had to tell Mungo. Mungo would know what to do. Mungo was sitting by the fire, watching the late night boxing on TV. He turned as Cole stumbled into the room, sat up when he saw his ashen face. "What's wrong?" Cole's voice trembled. "I was dreaming. A nightmare. But it was worse this time. Mungo, it was worse. And it wasn't a nightmare, it was real. That day in the loch." He let out a sob. "There was a body down there. I saw it. It touched me, Mungo." He ran to his brother, clutched at his shirt. "Mungo, it must still be there." Mungo's eyes were ice cold. He plucked Cole's fingers from round his. He shook his head. "Why the hell did you have to go to that loch in the first place?" What does that matter? There's a body down there." Mungo let out a long, slow sigh. He looked at Cole for what seemed like an age. "Who do you think put it there?" he said at last. Cole gasped. He stepped back. His brother? Capable of anything, but not this. Surely not this. Do you mean... Cole couldn't say the words. "There was a chase. There was a fight. I won. Okay? Now he's down there and he's staying down there, right? Just forget about your dream." Cole was shaking now. "I can't believe you'd do anything like that." Suddenly, Mungo had him by the shoulders. "Grow up, Cole. You've got to keep your mouth shut about this. For my sake. And for yours." He grinned. "You being an accomplice, after all." Cole couldn't take that in. Didn't understand it. He was still trapped in the nightmare. "You must be... me? An accomplice?" The sky lit up again and Mungo pointed outside. "A night like this. Remember? There was a belter of a storm. I came running in. The cops after me. You and me rolling about in the garden pretending we were fighting. Remember now? You gave me my alibi. You're in this as deep as me, son." Mungo spoke as if he hated him. Cole had never heard his brother talk to him like that before. Cole saw his life stretching ahead of him, always in Mungo's power, always doing what Mungo wanted. He shook his head. "No!" Mungo threw Cole from him. "What's the point of telling anyone? The guy's dead. Has anyone missed him? No. And you know why? He's a nobody, a nothing. He deserved everything he got. He's better off dead. He was only a dirty, illegal immigrant, shacking up in one of those old air raid shelters at the loch." Cole felt as if the air had been punched out of him. Black spots appeared in front of his eyes. He grabbed the back of a chair, sure he was about to faint. An illegal immigrant, but Claus had said he was the only illegal immigrant at the loch.